Super Mario 1 through 3? Is this legal? Greetings, RetroZoltan here. As someone who likes doing handheld gaming reviews, I purchase a lot of things. Things I think may be interesting. And while sorting through my inventory, I came across many systems that were frankly nothing remarkable. I know this might not sound like the most exciting start to a video, but bear with me. This isn't a Powkiddy X55, an Ambernick Cube, or even a Datafrog 2000. What I found were just some typical Famiclones. And if you're familiar with the term, you're probably already feeling a headache coming on. But if you're not, it's important to understand what they are, and so you can make informed choices when shopping for handheld gaming devices in the future. So let's talk about the Famiclone. Let's look at a few handheld ones and really find out if these belong buried out in the desert with all the Atari 2600 ET cartridges. Hey, it's a thing. I think Gen X Grown Up has one that was dug up now that I think about it. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Anyway, where was I? Okay, yes. So what is the Famiclone? The term Famiclone is derived from a combination of the word Famicom and clone. The Famicom, short for Family Computer, is the original name for the Nintendo Entertainment System, released in Japan in 1983. It became a cultural phenomenon, revolutionizing the home gaming industry with its iconic games and affordable hardware. However, its success also led to the torrent of unauthorized imitation consoles that attempted to replicate or enhance the Famicom's capabilities. In the early days, arguably somewhat innocently, Famiclones were manufactured in regions with limited access to officially licensed Nintendo products, such as Russia and parts of South America. These early clones were designed to look like the original Famicom, but were often produced with cheaper materials that varied significantly in quality. Technology moved on to where cartridges and systems were able to play multiple games, and in time these things flooded the market. Today you'll be hard-pressed to avoid them, and of course if you're into handheld gaming like I am, you're going to run into gaming systems that act the same way. So to demonstrate what I'll be talking about here, I'm going to use a bunch of handheld Famiclones that I happen to have. I've reviewed several already, and in your travels you will see one or buy one. It's just a matter of time. So what are the characteristics of a Famiclone? And how do we know we have one? I guess it's fair to say there are two distinct types. There are legal ones and the illegal ones. As far as the legal Famiclone systems, you'll most likely catch them at your local big box retail stores, which will have decent names like Retrobit or Arcade Fun. And we're not talking about mini systems that come with well-known companies like Atari and My Arcade and that sort of thing. Not really. Usually these will have a few licensed game titles, while the rest are mid-games that are slightly entertaining. No doubt there'll be something on the box saying 100 games in one, when it really should be saying 30 games you'll tolerate. These generally are easy to pick up and play systems with no fuss. The usual licensing reaches out to gaming properties like Data East, so they're not getting into legal trouble here. I can't tell you how many of these legal Famiclones that have bad dudes on them. And to be fair, I love this game in the arcade. I'm bad! Sadly, these are the worst to play because in the efforts to make it legal, they won't have too much to offer for games. Not if they want profit anyway. It's a fine balance to have just enough legal property to attract a buyer, but not to spend too much on licensing. As far as the illegal Famiclone systems, you'll more likely see these online, especially being overpriced on Amazon. Or if you still go to the mall, it will be on one of those retail carts. I like to think this is so they can make a quick getaway before the feds show up. These systems are riddled with illegal ROMs, ROM hacks, and just bad games. I've heard the term sweatshop games before, which is just a bunch of games made really quickly to bring the numbers up. Speaking of bringing up the numbers, the game count on these things are usually pretty ridiculous, like 666 games in one, and that sort of thing. The higher the number, the higher the chances you're going to see repeats of games. In one Famiclone I looked at some time ago, the Konami game Jackal appeared 3 times, unshamefully. They will also try to hide it, of course, by having games not in alphabetical order, or giving the games different names, which I find even more irritating. Or the same game, but hacked in a different way. I really get a kick out of some of these systems and what they try to get away with. On some systems, they try to hide that they're selling unlicensed ROMs by putting games on it like Bear Brothers, which is obviously a ROM hack of Mario Brothers, and not a good one. Does it make it more legal? Not really. So why bother? It will be the same game with a minor change to the title, or Mario's face hacked onto another game for a round of Mario Brothers 7, which I'm sure Nintendo laughs at. Makes me wonder if anyone is fooled into thinking these games are legal when it's not. By the time you're using these systems, though, it's already too late. You're going to jail, no questions asked. I would say another huge indicator that you have a Famiclone is crappy music blasting the second you turn it on. Ah yes, Yankee Doodle Dandy on repeat, my favorite. Another indicator that you have a Famiclone is that you're seeing a menu instantly, the selection for Chinese or English waiting for your attention. I rarely see anything different on these systems, so if you see this, you know what you have. It's quick at least and ready to play immediately, and that's because it's most likely carrying the all-in-one chip, or what is known as the NES on a chip, or NOAC. A rather interesting thing about the Famiclone is it has no memory. Not really. You won't be saving your games. So if you're really getting into one, keep that in mind. Choosing English and using the system is great, until you turn it off and on again. It's going to ask you all over again. It never remembers. Same with the volume too, so if you really want one of these things, I recommend a volume that's a knob or a wheel and not push button. It's one less thing that will scare the hell out of whomever you're next to when you turn this thing on. Oddly enough, games on these systems are almost always NES ROMs. I'm not entirely sure why this is, but I'm guessing they're cheap to emulate. Cheaper than any other possible system to emulate out there. Usually Famiclone systems are cheaply made. D-pads are creative at times, but strange or lousy, or just 4 buttons cobbled together to look like one. The buttons are not much better either. I would argue the legal ones have better quality, but barely. On rare occasions, you will find what I can only describe as a hybrid Famiclone. That is, a system that appears in all ways to be a Famiclone, but take an SD and convert into a decent system. I found this to be true with the JJ Fun system that comes with a gift SD that changes the system into a decent emulator, or the FC3000 that plays garbage games until you remove the cartridge, and then it starts looking at an SD card hidden behind the battery. Yeah, that happens. Strange, right? I can only imagine this is to hide the fact that the system itself is otherwise illegal. Just ignore this free gift that it comes with. I would say the biggest downfall of these systems is that you can't add games. So your best bet is looking for a hybrid and see if there's an SD slot. And don't be fooled by some systems that look like it has an SD slot when it doesn't. Trust me, if it has an SD slot, they'll advertise it. So don't fall for that trick either. So for the people that keep asking me if it can run Doom, no it can't, my friend. Not unless, well, if someone includes a hacked up version of something and call it that. But I don't think it exists. And that's about it. Let's take a look at some of the good games you can find on these systems, and some of the bad ones. Here's some examples of what you'll see for legal titles on the Famiclones. Here are some examples of what you'll see for illegal titles. Today, Famiclones are seen as both nostalgic relics and collector's items. There are some in the modern retro gaming community that often embrace these devices, and some companies have even started producing high-quality legal consoles that pay homage to the original Famiclones, while respecting intellectual property laws. In the end, though, most people will argue that these are just e-waste, or something to throw in your kid's stocking that they will play a few times and end up never being touched again. I would say if you're new to this sort of thing, it's not a horrible place to start, but if this blooms you into a collector, I'm fairly sure you won't be paying much attention to them in the future, unless if you're sadistic and want to make a video all about them. What do you think? Do you have one of these? Do you like it, or are you considering getting one? And that's all I have to say about Famiclones. It's a thing and maybe a good starter for people, but don't expect much more than a bad taste of games, and if you're lucky, some nostalgia for those who grew up playing 8-bit gaming. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye. One night in the arcade when all